Good morning and welcome to another great edition of Money Truth Moments with our very own Money Truth expert and Judy Kopenbarger. How are you?
I have never been better. I'm doing great. What a happy Tuesday. The weather's beautiful. It's springtime. I love it. I love it.
Awesome. And folks, if you're just joining us for the first time, please make sure you are following Judy at judykopenbarger.today. Today, folks, I'm excited, and today we get a free pass because we're going to be using the B word, right? We don't really talk about the B word because it's not really, number one, a Halloween episode because it's kind of scary, but the B word is budget if you're not aware of it. So today we are going to be talking about why your budget isn't working and what actually does. So, we know that many people create a budget with good intentions, yet feel frustrated when it doesn't work. So today we're going to explore what traditional budgeting approaches often fail and what simple, practical strategies Judy can help us with. So what do you say we get started?
Let's do it. Let's do it. The B word.
The B word, right? We get a free pass for today using the B word. And then we're also going to tell you what we have replaced, or actually what you say what Judy has replaced the B word with. So you have to stick around and make sure you share the stream. So why do so many people feel like budgeting just doesn't work for them?
It feels rigid for some people. It feels too detailed, too much minutia, too much tracking that you don't want to spend the time. For others, it's kind of like, I don't want to look because if I look, then I have to limit myself. In your mind, it's like, well, that's why we don't use the B word, right? Budget, because it feels like something you can't have. It's like the D word, diet. A diet is just what goes in your mouth. It doesn't mean it's good, bad, or ugly. It just means it goes in your mouth. Budget is just the money that goes out. Where does the money get allocated to? So it doesn't have to be negative, but a lot of people in their mind, it feels restrictive. It feels like, it's you're telling me what I can't do. It doesn't feel free to us. So I think for some people it's that. Other people don't want to look. I don't want to look. I don't want to actually see what's happening because I don't feel good about it. And I don't want to go through the hassle of change. So there's a lot of psychology to it. But it doesn't have to be that way.
It's funny is as you grow up, you go through your teen years and all that. It's exactly that. You have little money here, or you don't want to face the bills. You don't want to. Okay, it's out of sight, out of mind. I don't want to know about it. And then I think that's when we're going to talk about this too, like where we fall into a lot of issues that we could have prevented had we actually been paying attention, right? So
Exactly.
how come you? What do you think? People, I mean, they think about budget like has to be strict, has to be restrictive. And I think that's part of the major pitfall, right? When we get into that mindset.
Yeah, it's just, what we call it here is a spending plan. Planned spending, it's not that big a deal. So instead of budget, because that has negative connotations for so many, spending plan. And all that means is we have a plan for the spending, right? So there's line items for things. So we expect that our housing expense is going to be whatever, 2000 a month. We expect that what we're going to spend on transportation is 300 a month, whatever it is, right? We expect that our groceries and going out and insurances and tuition, all the things that we do every month, regular expenses, and that's part of it. There's fixed expenses and flexible expenses. We kind of have an expectation of what those are going to be. So the idea is the fixed expenses are what they are. And we can adjust those, but it might require a life change, like a move or something, right? Or a different kind of car. But the flexible expenses is where people get hung up. The flexible ones are the fun ones. That's the entertainment, and that's the hobbies, and that's the travel, and that's the going out to eat. It's an option. Now, some people, there's wishes, wants, and needs. Some people think going out to eat is a need, but actually, is it? Right? I
Right.
guess it depends on who you are. But if there's a way to cut back, a way to belt tighten, if you need to, if you're in it like a skinny season or a bottleneck season, there are ways to do that, and it's going to happen with your flexible expenses first. The fixed expenses, as I mentioned, are going to be a little bit more life changing. It's like, well, we need to downsize. We need to move to a less expensive neighborhood, maybe another state. A lot of people have been doing that since COVID, right? It's like, let's just get out of Dodge. Let's go where we can afford. The things we want and have a lifestyle that's better because housing less and the basic groceries are less, the basic expenses are less, insurances. And some people even change, cities or states for those reasons. But those are the fixed expenses, and they're a little bit more, a bigger ship to turn, a little bit more involved in those kind of changes. But fixed, flexible, are the ones that kind of get people hung up for sure.
So as we're talking about this, so you mentioned like obviously you have to kind of change your like if regarding your car, regarding your home, you have to move, downsize, whatever it is that you have to do. But like, what do you see happen when people try to follow like a budget plan or a spending plan that doesn't fit their lifestyle? I've seen that a lot.
Yeah, well, you decide what you want your lifestyle to be, and then you put in the line items, the expected spending in those areas, and then you just do that. And it's so easy these days. We used to do it with, spreadsheets and pencil and paper, even before spreadsheets. It was done on ledgers, right?
Mhm.
But now there's apps, and you just have it on your cell phone. That's in a lot of people's hand or pocket all the time anyway. And on your cell phone, you just put in there, here's what I expect to spend on going out to eat and groceries for the month. $500, whatever your number might be, 5,000, I don't know, but whatever your number is. And then it'll tell you from your expenses. When you use your credit card, you swipe your credit card at the grocery store, it's going to go, okay, you just spent $150, you got 350 left, and there's 7 days left in the month, right? So it tracks all that for you. There's some apps that are really cool. The nice thing about those is they can be shared. So you're sharing information with other people in your household that are also spending money. So, like a spouse, maybe that, needs a little reeling in, right? And usually in a couple, there's one that's a saver and one's a spender. I mean, it's almost always the case. You don't marry somebody who's exactly like you, right? Imagine that.
Yeah.
But that just can really help track things like that. I think one thing that I've worked with clients on that has been new in the last decade or so is everybody now shops online, Amazon, or DoorDash. Everything just kind of is on an app, and then the stuff shows up at your door with somebody holding a bag or a box. That's a little harder to track. Also, it's a little tougher on your spending plan to categorize because if you're shopping at Amazon, that's going to be everything: dog food, cat food, kitty litter, paper goods, the everything, baggies, plastic wrap, all this stuff you use that really isn't food, but it's those paper goods and those extra things, cleaning supplies, things like that, mops and brooms and, cleaning supplies that you use in your house. All of that comes, to the door. So where do you put that? Is that now a grocery bill? It's the stuff that we used to go out like to Walmart or Target to go get, maybe Home Depot. So is it repairs on your home? All the things that are coming to the door now, you got to categorize those. So it might take a little bit more eyeballing, not a lot, maybe 10 minutes, 20 minutes a month to kind of get those categorized so you know exactly in the spending plan how much you're spending on the different areas of life.
Folks, and we are talking about the B word today. So if you're just joining us, welcome. Please make sure that you are following Judy at judykopenbarger.today. Follow her on there. Social media links are on there as well. And also share the stream because this is actually a very important subject, no matter what age group you're in, right? It's great when we can start really little or as we get older that we find ourselves in a situation where it's like, whoops, I don't have enough money for this or I haven't been paying attention to that. So I'm glad we're really talking about it, especially before the summer hits, because I know as summer gets closer, we tend to lose even more track when kids are off and so forth. But I want to keep going because I got so many questions for you you know um so what does a practical realistic spending plan, I'm not going to say budgeting system, actually looks like?
It's a moving, breathing document. It's something that will change. It's something that should be adjusted. And, you kind of want to give yourself, when you take little kids bowling and they blow up those bumpers, and then you both
Yeah.
so can't go in the other lane or jump into the gutter all the time. And it kind of helps guide you. A spending plan is like that. It's not like a strict thing. It's like, oh, you blew it. You went $7 over on that bill, right? It's just a guideline. It's just a guideline. It's bumpers to help keep you from going rogue and, really making mistakes. So I think it's about being flexible. It's about this moving, breathing document that can change. So I would say if you stay in the lanes best you can, and every quarter, if this is really some area that you're working on and developing new habits around, I would say every quarter restructure it. So it might be that you have, back in my example, $500 a month for going out, whatever the number is. So $500, and you see that every month you're spending 700. It might be that we need to move that number up, but it's got to come from somewhere. So we look at the rest of the line items. That's why it's a written spending plan. And where can we find another 100 or $200 to bring that up? Because consistently we need more in that area. Maybe it's things like, right now they're talking about the price of gas. It's up, it's down, it's up, it's down right now. And we're in California, so it's always high here. But it's a little higher than it was a year or two or three ago. Well, not three ago, but it's a little higher right now. So people that are traveling a lot with their work, I'm thinking, contractors, people that are out there in those big trucks all the time, they probably have a spending plan that needs some adjustment for that purchase. Plumbers, people that are out on the road. We've got nurses coming to the house helping my mom. They're on the road. Some are on call and in their cars all day long. Well, their expenses just went up to do their job. So they might need to adjust something else, maybe a belt tighten a little bit in the hobby area or the going out area or the entertainment area, and put a little bit more toward transportation temporarily. So that's how you do it. If you add to one line item, you got to take it away from another line item unless you're able to change your income. And some people can do that. They can work harder, work longer, make more commissions or bonuses. Some people can adjust their income. Others have a fixed income. So if you're on a salary and you need to take more money to a certain category, you've got to figure out where it's going to come from, or it ends up on a credit card. Now you have debt. Now you have another line item that's growing, and that's not fun, right? If you're spending money paying back what you already did in life, that's not as fun as building a lifestyle and choosing what you want to do in the future. So it's kind of a ebb and flow. It's a balance, and you just want to be flexible with that spending plan. That'll help you with the mindset, so it's not a chore; it's a joy.
As you're talking about mindset too, so how can someone move from this restricted feeling, right, in controlling their money?
Well, I think what a spending plan does for you is it brings you clarity. So if your mindset is this is just for clarity, it's not to be an evil spreadsheet that ruins my life and now I can't do anything fun. It's really about that clarity over control. It's about being consistent over being perfect. Just it's a guideline. It's not a rule of law. Make sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think as we've talked about the spending plan, we've talked about mindset. One question I kind of want to squeeze in here too is why do people associate the B word budgeting, right, with stress instead of freedom?
I think it goes back to that you're telling me what I can't do. It feels restrictive and I can't do it. I can't just do whatever I want. And, it would be nice to be a gazillionaire and never even have to think about money or spending plan. It's just like whatever I want, I do. And I know a lot of people like that. We've got relatives like that. I know a lot of people that just money, they don't even have a conversation about it. They don't say the word, right? It's never an issue. Cost is kind of irrelevant. It's like, here's what we're doing, here's what we're giving, how we're living. Um, so I think, for most people that do have that fixed income or they have a set amount of resources and they're also planning for the future, to make sure that later in the future, if they are not working, their money still is. So you've got to have some. I think some people find that stressful and restrictive. So it doesn't have to be. It could be a sense of freedom when you have this clear guideline that you're following. And sometimes you do a little extra and sometimes you pull it in a little bit. But it can be such a joy to have that structure in place. And especially, if you're dealing with a couple or a family that's doing money together, it's going to help the ones that spend too much go, okay, here's what I can do. Like, I like to decorate my house. I like to put plants in my yard. Well, how much is too much? right? We don't want to say don't do that, but how much is too much? And that could be with anything. It could be with even, good things like music and education and travel. But how much is too much? So make it free, not stressed.
So I have about 2 minutes. We always love your stories, right? And if you can briefly tell us, well, let's talk about a little bit about mindset before you talk to somebody. Think of a client that's just recently or a while ago that came with you with this chaos. They don't have any structure. They don't have any budgeting, any spending plan whatsoever. And how did that feel for them from going from point A to point Z?
Oh, freedom. Freedom. Yeah. I've got a couple. They're probably about, here we are in Southern California, about $250,000 spending plan after the taxes are paid. So that's, they're living well, but that's kind of a middle class right here in where I live. And so it was just like poof, where did it go? And so we put together a spending plan. They adhered to it. And I remember they were putting yellow stickies around the house. Judy said no. Judy said no. I said, I would never tell you no. But they needed some help with their mindset of, sure, we can do that. We can afford it. We make a lot of money. We can do it. And so I always say that's a joke, right? Because Judy would never say no. I would say, let's choose. No, don't say no. But anyway, they got turned around and they're doing great. They're doing great. And now they have, even more money. They also have enough money in their spending plan for their goals, which they're enjoying achieving. We celebrate every time they get a goal. It's like pop the cork, right? But they're also saving for their future, which before stressed them out, but they didn't want to look. Now they look, they plan, they see all of that growing over the years, that we've been doing this. And Judy didn't say no, but it did help them get there.
That's awesome. And folks, if you are just joining us, we are at the tail end of the show. So for most of you guys, you know what that means. It's our money truth moment, B challenge, right? I'm going to use that B challenge.
The spending plan challenge. So we're going to build awareness without trying to control everything. So just take one area of your spending plan, one area, and you know which one it is. The one that's like always overdone. We don't really know what the number is, but we know it's over. And just track it and just see exactly what. I mean, you can't change what you don't, acknowledge and look at. So take one area of your spending plan, track it, and then put together, a couple of notes. What could I do more, better, or different with this one area of spending? That's your challenge.
All right, folks, you've heard the challenge. And as always, if you have a topic that you'd like Judy to talk about a little bit and share some of that wisdom, please let us know. Remember, we are here every Tuesday morning at 8 a.m. with the replays on Thursdays at 8 p.m. Any last parting words, Judy?
Make it a great week. Do your homework. It's really going to make a difference for you. You will find money you didn't even know was missing. Make it a great week.
Excellent. And folks, just as a teaser, joining us next week, and we're going to talk about hidden fees that quietly drain your money and how to spot them before they add up. So stay tuned, share the stream, and we'll see you guys next week.